We're all pumped up. It's been a great day. Let's do some interactivity. Are you ready? Super scientific. How many of you have children? Stand up. If you have a child, stand up. If you have a child living in your home, stand up. If you ever were a child, stand up. You know what this is. This is all about you standing up. Thank you. Sit down. What are y'all doing? Stand up. Because you are all up, that tells me that you know about this story that I'm about to tell you. It's the story of the 5:30 shuffle with your kids. When they've been at school, they come home and you ask the question, hey, honey, what did you learn today? Right? And you know what the answer is. What's the answer? Someone tell me what the answer is. Nothing. And that is exactly what you know did not happen. Because like us here at SwitchPoint today, we have been fed richly, we've been inspired, and the answer cannot afford to be for the lives of the people whom we serve, the faith of the donors and the supporters and the partners that we work with, and more importantly for the next generation of people that we're all thinking about. The answer can't be nothing. We can't afford to have it be nothing. And so I want you to know that I was listening when Pop spoke this morning. Do y'all remember what Pop talked about earlier this morning? He talked about making things full of action, and that action verb. Are you ready? So while the day was going on, I was given the, what seemed to be insurmountable task of bringing together some of the themes for today. So if you'll stick with me for a moment, we're going to talk about some of those themes that were presented today before we heard the beats of Apple Juice Kid and Avicii, and before you all admitted that the word can't be nothing. Here's what we heard today. We put together that action verb, Pop. Thanks to you. So Pop, make your way up to this point right here. That action verb that is going to define itself as the 2013 SwitchPoint action verb. We pulled together all of the themes, and the themes tend to be these in one beautiful verb, because you said action verbs, right, Pop? So we're going to give Pop a try. Let's give Pop some love. I'm going to give Pop a try, and we're going to give Pop a try at pronouncing his SwitchPoint 2013 action verb. You ready, Pop? Let's go.
Accelerate collaboration, innovation, localization, make, inspire, and evaluate.
How do you do? So swag was just discussed, and the must-have accessory in Saxapaha is this United Nations Foundation eco-friendly bag. Thank you. Who wants to one-up Pop? No one who works for IntraHealth. Who wants to one-up Pop? Who's going to do it? Don't make me volunteer you. I will. Come on down. Someone's going to do it. Okay, let's try to do it, because then we're going to unpack these verbs, and the serious work will begin. Who's coming down? Do you work for Pop? You never one-up your boss. Who are you?
I'm Amy Handler.
Amy Handler. Try it. One-up it. Do it better.
Accelerate, collaborate, patinova, localize, make, inspire, evaluate.
Did you do it? Thank you. Well done. So let's unpack a little bit of the verb, because there's important stuff in here. The eco might not have come out, but it's going to come out in a minute. The evaluate didn't come out. The fail definitely was something we just talked about. So I'm going to try to fail a little bit as we talk about those 23 syllables and what they brought out today in terms of the SwitchPoint opportunity and the spirit of SwitchPoint. You all know that we live in this 7 billion person world, right? That Halloween night when in the Philippines that baby was born and the UN stood up and said, that's it, 7 billion, 7 billion. You knew that we're at that 7 billion moment, and that's what drives each of you. And inside of the themes that we heard today were the themes that it's vital that we are relevant, that it's not enough for a technology to be new, it's not enough for a technology to be fancy, and it's not enough to throw the word innovation into it. Unless it's relevant for the problem we're trying to solve, we may as well save our breath, whether it be 23 syllables or a number of syllables. We don't have to remake a system to make it fit a technology. That theme came up over and over again today. But we have to make sure that a solution is relevant for the people that it serves. And a lot of that came through in this theme today about looking locally. Even though we're people who have big fat passports, we're people who know the capitals all over the world, and we're people who probably care a little more than the average bear about what's going on in the Nat Geo channel. But unless it's local, and unless the partners are local, all of this technology, innovation, all these connections are never going to be done in the right scale. But that scale changed, and without going too far into the details, because you remember them and you have a little piece of plastic in your pocket that you talk on and text on and tweet from, almost every one of the panels today, almost every one of the discussions talked about how the scale is mobile. Did you hear that today? We had some sessions that were definitely about mobile. It was about mobile health technologies. It was about the applicability of the mobile phone to change the way we talk about these things. But the scale was mobile, as it was discussed today at SwitchPoint. And more importantly, the term connection came up over and over today. And it may not be that connectivity we were talking about in terms of who has access, who you need to use SMS communication with versus other technologies. It was the connection within a group. It was sharing of information. The announcement of the SwitchPoint reader was significant. The announcements that were made by a number of people about how they're collaborating through NGO partners, through through multilateral partners, through government partners. Connectivity wasn't just about what happens on the internet or when your battery runs low. Connectivity was discussed today as a major theme at SwitchPoint about how we are connecting and how we're sharing information. An important milestone that we're sitting in right now, as tornado warnings go through the region, as people are fearing and talking and worrying just up the coast from us in Boston, we're in another era. And we're in another era because we're in the last 1,000 days of the Millennium Development Goals. So today's seen a lot of movement here in our area, between the weather, between what you've been reading about in the news in Boston. But in our space, what we do, we're in a new era because 2015 is right around the corner. And on April 6th, we mark those last 1,000 days of this version or iteration of the Millennium Development Goals. And today, people were in a hurry. They were not in a hurry to fail foolishly, they were in a hurry to fail fast. People talked about the urgency to make these connections, the urgency to make sure that this SwitchPoint spirit gets into action quicker. We heard a lot about making sure that resources and regulations could fail or experiment or go farther as fast as the innovators in the room can, about matching those two speeds. Did you hear that? Because it came up in almost every single session. And that 1,000-day period that we all live in right now means that that urgency counts down every single day. So that momentum that we felt here at SwitchPoint, that momentum for action and connection that is real and measurable and commensurate with our time is an important theme. You all know that we live in the most digitally connected population of the most globally aware people that have ever lived on the planet. Almost half of the people on this earth are under 25. They grow up, many of them, with a connection in their homes or in their hands, but definitely in their DNA. So what do we do with this energy? I'll tell you a quick story about what happens with what we do with this energy. People like you, people at SwitchPoint, we have seen in the social good community, as part of the partners in global development, as part of the people who care about the nexus between tech and innovation and health. We have seen you make a table big enough to fit people in that aren't MPHs, that are not global development experts, that are not entrepreneurs, but people who are part of this digitally connected, globally aware generation. We saw this happen here today in Saxapaha. But we saw it happen this last year, and we'll see it happen again because you're going to inspire people to go to cities like New York. And because they've read and understood and been inspired by you, you're going to credential a new group of people who think, public health is what I do. Global development is what I do. Global innovation is what I do. And it has nothing to do with what's on my business card. Because you're going to build a table that's big enough for all of them. So regardless of their city, regardless of where they live, regardless of where they get their mail, or from which they send their email, they're all part of that scale that comes down to you. Congratulations on a great day at Saxapaha. Congratulations on being the scale at which SwitchPoints are taking place today with your connections, in your career, and what we're doing when we go home and explain to people, what did you do in Saxapaha? And you say, something. Thank you.